After World War I, Germany got smacked hard by the Treaty of Versailles. They lost land and their army power. Meanwhile, after Germany, Russia, and Austria took turns invading Poland for a century and deleting them from the map, Poland finally made a comeback. Back online after 120 years of being gone. But the new borders were like a bad breakup for Germany. The Polish corridor literally cut the country in half, separating East Prussia like an unwanted ex you can't text anymore. And Danzig was turned into a free city under League of Nations supervision, but still full of Germans. Yeah, Hitler did not like it. Then in 1933, Hitler and the Nazis grabbed power and started breaking the Treaty of Versailles. He secretly rebuilds the army, signs a non-aggression pact with Poland in 1934. Don't worry, bro, I totally won't invade you. Between 1936 and 1938, Germany reclaims the Rhineland, absorbs Austria, and carves up Czechoslovakia, while Britain and France just stand there like, maybe he'll stop, and the world will live in peace forever after. No, he did not. By 1939, Hitler had full confidence that the West wouldn't dare to fight, so he decided to invade Poland. And boom, World War II, the sequel nobody asked for. At first, Poland's relationship with the Soviet Union was surprisingly chill. We're neutral, don't drag us into your drama. Meanwhile, Hitler kept sliding into Poland's DMs with offers like, hey, want to team up against the Soviets? But Piłsudski wasn't buying it. Before he died, he told his successors to stay away from Germany. He'll get along with Hitler, he's gay. But they didn't listen. Poland's new military leaders, Edward Rydz-Śmigły, who once fought and hated the Soviets so much, started warming up to Nazi Germany. But that honeymoon didn't last long. As Germany's army bulked up, Hitler began demanding a few small favors, like redrawing the borders and taking over the city of Danzig. Poland said no. Hitler did not like it. Poland knew they couldn't take on Nazi Germany alone. So they called in the big brothers Britain and France. Problem was, both of them were still stuck in their appeasement era, trying to keep Hitler happy and avoid another world war. But as Germany grew bolder, political pressure mounted. Finally, Britain and France decided to form alliances with Eastern European nations, including Poland, to box Germany in. On March 31, 1939, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain publicly guaranteed Britain and France would defend Poland's independence. All right, everyone, listen up. Apparently, Mr. Hitler over there just can't stop collecting countries like they're Pokemon cards. So here's the deal. If he even thinks about touching Poland, Britain and France are going to step in. That's right. No more appeasement. And Adolf, consider this your final warning. Hitler did not like it. Germany wasn't about to let Poland have all the diplomatic fun. They went for a non-aggression pact with the Soviet Union. On August 23, 1939, the two signed the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact in Moscow, promising not to fight each other, while secretly agreeing to split Poland and Eastern Europe like a 2-for-1 pizza deal. With that paperwork out of the way, Hitler wasted no time. The invasion of Poland was officially set for September 1939. The plan, called Fall Weiss, was drafted by General Franz Halder and handed to General Walther von Brauchitsch to actually pull off. By late August 1939, Germany sent Poland a very polite message. Poland, being Poland, basically replied, "We said no in the last century, and guess what? Still no." So Germany rolled up its sleeves and brought out the big guns. Over 1.5 million soldiers, 60 divisions, 9,000 artillery pieces, 2,750 tanks, and more than 2,300 planes were ready to roll. It was like showing up to a bar fight with an entire tank division. Poland, meanwhile, came with enthusiasm. They had about 1 million troops, 39 divisions, 16 brigades, 4,300 cannons, 400 planes, and 200 tanks, most of which looked like they'd been borrowed from a museum. To make things worse, they had to split forces between two fronts, one facing Germany, and the other watching the Soviet Union lurking in the east. Hey, don't mind us. Oh, and Slovakia showed up too, technically on Germany's side, but their contribution was so tiny, it was like bringing a butter knife to a tank duel. Poland entered World War II believing that trenches were still the meta. Their core forces mostly came from old brigades that had fought in the Polish-Soviet War from 1919 to 1921. Germany knew exactly what they were doing. Their plan was speedrunning a whole country of Poland. Tanks smashed through Polish lines, followed by motorized infantry and artillery. Supply trucks zooming behind like a deadly parade. Above them, the Luftwaffe, basically the world's most terrifying air Uber, was busy bombing roads, railways, and every strategic location that dared exist. By this point, Germany's air force was the strongest on Earth. They'd already done a practice run in the Spanish Civil War, turning half of Spain into a smoking demo. On the night of August 31st, 1939, a group of German soldiers dressed up in Polish uniforms snuck into a German border town, seized the local radio station, and broadcast in Polish. The time to destroy Germany has come. Yeah, totally a cosplay warfare. The next morning, see? They started it. At 4:45 a.m. on September 1st, Germany launched their invasion of Poland. The first shots rang out in the free city of Danzig, which wasn't so free after that. Some Polish politicians were still hoping for a peaceful solution. Maybe if we give Germany a few patches of land, Britain and France will call another Munich-style conference and everyone will chill out again. They did not chill out. In reality, it later became clear that Poland had been abandoned by its two allies, Britain and France, when the war began. On September 1st, 1939, the city of Danzig was captured. Polish defenders put up a brave fight. Some even made their last stand in the city library. World War II had officially begun, and Poland was swallowed by fire and fury. At the German-Polish border, the Germans decided to play smart. Instead of politely knocking on the front door, they kicked it down. They focused on Poland's weak spots and attacked so that the Polish army barely had time to blink, let alone breathe. Tanks? Everywhere. Bombs? Non-stop. Artillery? Shooting like a rock concert. The Germans basically invented shock and awe before it was cool. While the Polish trenches looked like relics from the last war that nobody told them had ended 20 years ago. The main German thrust came from the south, aimed straight at Warsaw like it owed them money. General Gerd von Rundstedt's Southern Army Group charged in from Silesia, Moravia, and Slovakia, while General Johannes Blaskowitz's 8th Army went east toward Łódź. General Wilhelm List's 14th Army rolled through Krakow and over the Carpathians. Finally, General Walter von Reichenau, leading the 10th Panzer Army, was the guy with the keys to the front door, smashing open Poland's defenses for everyone else. Silesia, that industrial powerhouse on Poland's western border. Packed with factories, coal, and people, it was the obvious place for Poland to dig in and make a stand. But just in case things went sideways, and they did. The Polish High Command had a backup plan, the graceful retreat strategy. The idea was simple. Fight hard in Silesia, then fall back to prepared defensive lines along the Vistula and San rivers. Those river defenses were supposed to buy time for full mobilization, and hopefully for their friends in Britain and France to show up as promised. According to Allied estimates, Poland could probably hold out for 2 to 3 months. The Poles themselves, full of optimism or denial, believed they could last 6. By September 3rd, German generals were already racing across the map. Gunther von Kluge hit the Vistula, Kukler reached the Naro, and Reichenau's tanks rolled past the Warta like it was a morning jog. Within a week, the Germans had crushed 225 kilometers of Polish territory. On September 8th, tanks were already knocking on Warsaw's door. Polish troops retreated fast, blowing up bridges behind them like in action movies. Except, they didn't quite finish the job. The Germans patched it up and kept coming. And just to make things worse, Heinz Guderian, the father of Blitzkrieg, was already crossing the Narrow, circling in for the kill. Warsaw was about to find out what shock and awe really meant. From September 9th to 19th, 1939, the Battle of the Bzura was the largest counterattack launched by Poland during the German invasion. Taking place near the Bzura River, west of Warsaw, it was led by Polish generals Tadeusz Kutrzeba and Władysław Bortnowski, who commanded around 225,000 troops, 8 infantry divisions, and a handful of cavalry brigades. Facing them was the might of Gerd von Rundstedt's German Army Group South, over 425,000 strong, backed by tanks, motorized units, and relentless air support. At first, the Polish forces struck with precision, catching the Germans by surprise and pushing them back across the river. For a brief moment, hope flared, a rare spark of victory in a campaign otherwise filled with retreat. But the tide quickly turned. The Luftwaffe descended from the skies. German armor encircled the Polish flanks, and within days the counteroffensive collapsed under overwhelming firepower. Nearly 170,000 Polish soldiers were captured, and thousands more killed or wounded. Despite the devastating outcome, the Battle of Bzura bought precious time for Warsaw's defenders and became a lasting symbol of Polish courage, a desperate stand against impossible odds. On September 16, 1939, France decided it was finally time to help Poland, so they launched the glorious Saar offensive, aimed at poking the German defenses near the Saar region. The French rolled in with 40 divisions, including 1 armored division, 3 motorized ones, 78 artillery regiments, and 40 tank battalions. Sounds impressive, right? At that moment, the Germans were busy steamrolling Poland, so the French actually had a solid numerical advantage. But instead of fighting, they basically just tiptoed up to the German border, waved hello at Saarbrücken, fired a few warning shots, and called it a day. General Maurice Gamelin, the French commander, then dramatically ordered everyone to stop, just 1 kilometer away from the Siegfried Line. Still, Gamelin confidently told Polish Marshal Edward Rydz-Śmigły that half of his army had fought the Germans and forced them to pull back. Marshal Rydz-Śmigły: "Excellent news, my army has engaged the Germans. They're retreating as we speak, 6 divisions pulled back. Magnifique. Incredible. Where did this happen? Near Saarbrücken?" Yes, right, somewhere around Saarbrücken. So they stopped? Let's not use such harsh words. They're heroically observing enemy positions from 1 kilometer away. In reality, the French were already packing their bags, heading back to the Maginot Line to enjoy some croissants and wait out the war. This half-hearted offensive was the diplomatic equivalent of saying, "We tried, bro." It crushed Poland's last hopes for a counterattack. It's a masterclass in how to lose a war without even showing up for it. While Germany was busy playing Blitzkrieg, the home edition, there was another player quietly watching from the sidelines, sipping vodka and waiting for the perfect moment: the Soviet Union. From day one, Hitler had been nudging Stalin and Molotov. "Hey buddy, want to invade Poland with me?" But Uncle Joe wasn't about to rush into anything. And when Germany had done all the heavy lifting, Poland was gasping for air and every soldier was either retreating or praying. Boom! September 17, 1939, the Red Army suddenly remembered they had territorial claims. So, 800,000 Soviet troops, 33 divisions, 11 brigades, 5,000 artillery pieces, 4,700 tanks, and 3,300 planes marched in from the east like they were late to a party but still wanted all the cake. After the Polish government had sprinted across the border, Soviet Foreign Minister Molotov took to the radio to make an official announcement. Poland no longer has a government. They ghosted their own country, so we're free to do whatever we want. All treaties between Poland and the USSR were now null and void. Publicly, the Soviets claimed they were heroically stepping in to protect Ukrainians and Belarusians in eastern Poland. The Polish border guards, about 25 battalions, were ordered not to fight and instead retreat toward Romania. But of course, somebody didn't read the memo. Small battles still broke out, like the Battle of Grodno, where Polish soldiers decided to give the Soviets a warm, explosive welcome from September 21st to 24th. On September 24, 1939, Germany sent 1,150 planes to negotiate with Warsaw, using 388 tons of bombs as their argument. The Polish capital, the beating heart of the nation, suddenly became the world's hottest place. The city was now surrounded, suffocating under a full-scale siege. Air power was the name of the game, and the Luftwaffe played it like they'd unlocked every cheat code. Stuka dive bombers screamed down from the sky, dropping 50-kilogram love letters that turned streets into modern art installations. Those who survived the bombing didn't get much of a break either. German troops were waiting on the ground, ready to welcome them personally. In less than 30 days, Poland became completely occupied real estate. The capital, Warsaw, officially surrendered on September 27, 1939, marking the end of the Second Polish Republic and the beginning of a very long, very unpleasant extended stay under German management. Over the course of the occupation, more than 20% of Poland's population vanished. But let's be honest, the Polish defeat wasn't just bad luck. Germany had the kind of military tech that made everyone else look like they were still fighting with broomsticks. Poland put way too much faith in the comforting bedtime stories told by Britain and France, who promised to come any day now. And that day never really came. Some pockets of Polish troops on the Baltic coast refused to take the hint and kept fighting the Germans all the way until October 2, 1939. But by October 6, after the Battle of Kock, General Franciszek Kleeberg finally threw in the towel. That marked the official end of the joint German-Soviet smash-and-grab operation in Poland. Just over a month of coordinated chaos, tanks, and very poor decision-making all around. After this lightning-speed campaign, Nazi Germany emerged victorious, though not without a few dents in the armor. The Wehrmacht managed to collect at least 46,600 casualties, including about 16,300 dead, plus the usual mix of wounded and missing. They also lost 236 tanks and 246 planes. The Soviets, on the other hand, had it easy. A modest 6,000 casualties, including roughly 700 dead, plus 43 tanks. Basically a bad week of military exercises by Soviet standards. Oh, and they collected around 250,000 Polish soldiers who voluntarily surrendered. Now for the real tragedy, Poland themselves. The country bled the hardest with at least 200,000 total casualties, including 66,000 dead and a staggering 660,000 captured. Of those, 410,000 went to the Germans, while the rest got an all-expenses-paid trip to Siberia, courtesy of the USSR. Around 120,000 Polish troops managed to flee to Romania and Hungary. Another 20,000 sprinted toward Latvia and Lithuania. And the Polish government packed its bags for a long vacation in exile in London. Poland's war machines didn't fare any better. About 132 tanks and armored vehicles and 327 aircraft were blown to pieces. The rest were confiscated by Germany and the Soviet Union. The country itself was left in smoking ruins. Entire cities were flattened beyond recognition, especially in areas lovingly visited by the German Luftwaffe, who clearly believed that if it casts a shadow, it's a military target. The victory of Nazi Germany left the whole world blinking in disbelief. In just over a month, the Germans had steamrolled a nation whose army ranked 5th in Europe. Hitler treated the campaign as his grand military flex, a sort of look-what-I-can-do performance for the global audience. But even in victory, the Germans admitted they needed a quick training montage to iron out a few minor mistakes before picking fights with the actual big boys, Britain and France. Meanwhile, the British and French embargo had choked off vital imports, especially oil, which Germany needed for their war machine. The solution? Invade Scandinavia and France. The Allies, now backed into a corner, had no choice but to fight back and prove that the mighty German war machine wasn't unstoppable after all.